Oh, yeah, the doctor's in the house, y'all. He's in the house, man. Let's listen to this man. He got some good news for you. Hey, everybody, gather here. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. Doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. The doctor is in the house.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the doctor is in the house. Welcome to Dr. Ron, unfiltered, uncensored, on Podbean. I really have an attitude of gratitude for your listening and for spreading the word. The podcast is growing incredibly, and I want to thank everybody for that. Put a shout out there for my good friend in Delaware, Teresa, for all the work she's been doing. And by that I mean she's working on getting herself very healthy. And she tells me she has used a lot of the suggestions from this program. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking about anti-aging and the new frontiers of medicine, the way we will help people to increase their health span so that it is more in tune with their lifespan. But before we get there, I would like to just tell you a couple quotes that I read. And one is by Hippocrates, and my saying is that you have to be the CEO of your own body, make decisions for yourself. Well, Hippocrates wrote, "Quote: If you are not your own doctor, you are a fool." And I would say he was right. And never before has it been truer in history, with doctors now the third leading cause of death in the United States. So we have to ask questions and we have to follow the science. Sorry about that. So we have to follow the science and continue to be the CEO of your own body. And look to programs like Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, where we aim at giving you healthcare options and discussing the real effects of medication. We're a program that is aimed at self-help to make so you can make educated medical decisions for your health. And we want you to know you have options. So Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored. So before we get on to the M&Ms of anti-aging, which are Moringa and Methylene Blue, which we introduced Methylene Blue on last week's podcast. Know that inflammation is at the root of nearly every chronic condition, and it is at the root of inflamaging, which means aging caused by inflammation. It's at the root cause of diabetes, heart disease, dementia, and cancer. But as we have been talking about, it can be influenced by lifestyle factors. And you'll get worse if you have chronic stress, a poor diet, and toxin exposure and lack of exercise and not enough sleep. So what do we have to do? I told you last week we have to decrease our toxic environment and decrease the toxins in our environment. So not only are there actions that we can take, both in an energetic frequency field and in a chemical way, but we have to also get rid of stuff in our environment. For instance, there are 15 toxic chemicals in shampoo and body wash. They're the ones the products you find in drugstore shampoos. So again, one of the most powerful things you can do for your health is change your shampoo to one that does not contain the harmful chemicals like sodium laureth sulfate, sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, polyethylene glycols, formaldehyde, the fragrances we talked about a couple of weeks ago, the perfumes, the retinol palmitate, which is a synthetic form of vitamin A, the triclosan, which is toxic to our mitochondria. So clean, safe, effective shampoos. Okay, look for more natural ingredients to include water, coconut kernel oil, palm kernel oil, olive oil, hemp oil, natural almond fragrance. Okay, so if we can avoid the artificial chemical shampoos and body washes, we will definitely increase our lifespan and we will be healthier. And if we can increase our sleep time, because sleep time is getting shorter for everybody, by getting rid of that artificial light, that blue light coming from our computers, our cell phones, our flat screen TVs, our tablets, because that is a sleep disruptor. And besides this disrupting your sleep and stealing some of your health span, it could steal your vision. Now we know about the vision part, but now we're finding out it can shorten lifespan by about 10%. When they tested subjects and exposed them to blue light, they showed eye damage, neurodegeneration, and motor function impairments. From the blue light. And what is scarier, it's not just about the blue light you can see, but what you're exposed to even when your eyes are closed. That really caught my attention. Even when your eyes are closed. The telecommunication industries and everybody else will say this blue light is perfectly safe for you. And they'll probably say because it is natural. Well, it's okay during the day, but not at night. So we've talked about this and about switching our computers to night mode or dark mode, light blocking software, blue light blocking screen protectors, replacing our LED lights. Okay, so if we can get rid of our toxic shampoos and body washes and facials, this will go a long way to increasing our lifespan. And there was one other article that caught my attention, and that had to do with the rubber. And this is escaping me right now, but they found that the rubber from the car tires, these particles are getting into the environment. There are microplastics, particles from car tires. They get into our ecosystem. They're finding our ways into oceans, rivers, air, and our food supply. So these tire rubber particles are just one in a growing list of toxic threats. And we have 60 some thousand chemicals that are not regulated in the United States. Food packaging and titanium dioxide is high on the list. So we are exposed very clearly to dangerous toxins everywhere, every day. And do you think it's going to change? Do you think our body can evolve this rapidly to handle this endless barrage of chemicals? The easiest thing, ladies and gentlemen, is to avoid them, to avoid the toxic chemicals. You might want to just revisit a prior podcast on the plastics found in fish. Everybody thinks they're doing good by eating fish, but they're eating a lot of plastics. Okay, so we want to have a long health span to accompany our lifespan. So one subject we have not talked a lot about this year is Moringa, Moringa. Moringa is an excellent source of protein. And for what I discovered that most of the moringa plant is edible. The leaves, the roots, the seed, the bark, the flowers. And it has, guess what? Anti-inflammatory action, among many other actions that are important for our health and longevity. Antihypertensive, cholesterol lowering, protects our liver. It has some antibacterial and antiviral effects, but it is anti-inflammatory. Now, our body is made up of protein, right? There are 20 basic amino acids that make up the proteins in our body. 9 of them are essential. Those 9 cannot be made by our body and therefore have to be obtained from our diet. They're all contained in moringa. Moringa has them. And this protein, which are strings of amino acids, is found in this plant. It also contains fatty acids and other health-promoting ingredients. But I wanted to promote it for its anti-inflammatory effects, because inflammation causes inflamaging, and we don't want that, right? We want to try and stay as young as we can. So moringa contains all the essential amino acids that you need. And as far as dosing, that I will leave up to you and to your healthcare provider. My family, we use the powder, and we use about 2 teaspoons a day. You can mix it with your cereal. You can just put it into your protein drink. So moringa contains all the essential amino acids that your body needs, and it is a fantastic anti-inflammatory. So one writer that I wrote down here, he says moringa is an inexpensive way to optimize your nutrition. So, what more can I say? There's articles that you can search that have moringa can help with damaged skin that is exposed to toxins and pollutants every day of our life. It's not really a widespread popular supplement, but it helps with inflammation and collagen so we can stay stronger. And remember, our skin is what? The largest organ of our body. So we have to take care of it. They think that moringa may protect your skin from pollution. So it has been found to be mixed with manuka honey to restore damaged skin. So it's very few, if any, side effects that have to be mentioned. So if you want another way to dose it, another author that I read and looking at my notes, he recommends 100 grams of dry moringa leaves, which contain everything you need to stay healthy. In fact, most of the authors that I've been reading stated that if you had only one supplement to take, it should be moringa because of its essential amino acids, its bioactive compounds, and its anti-inflammatory effects. And you'll find authors saying that moringa fights diabetes, helps with weight loss, milk production, enhances your endurance if you're an athlete and you like to run. It may improve asthma, and as I said, it can protect your skin from aging, may protect your heart. But one thing it is an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. The leaves do contain strong antioxidants. And there's lists and lists of how many health effects this plant has. And no major adverse effects have been noted in clinical studies, up to 20 grams a day. Now, there are some drug interactions you should be aware of, possible drug interactions. And these drugs include statins, anti-seizure medications, and antifungal medications. And if you have type 2 diabetes, it may lower your blood sugar. So that's why you have to work with a healthcare provider. So I don't like the 100-gram dose, by the way. I like a dose between 4 and 20 grams a day. Not more than that. Typically 4 to 10 of the dried leaves would be a typical dose. And you'll get everything you need as far as the compounds that are beneficial for your health. So wanted you to join in to know about moringa today, because as we age, our bodies slow down, right? They break down and we get dis-ease. And most of us accept the fact without thinking much about it. Oh, it's normal to get old. You're born to die, but we have to have as much health in our lifespan. We have to have a long health span also. But the reason for age-related symptoms and dis-ease is inflammation, or as the Italian author coined the term, inflamaging. So we may not have to accept these symptoms. They these diseases may be an avoidable consequence of aging. We can live a vibrant, healthy life, but we have to watch our nutrition and our lifestyle strategies, avoid the toxins, don't eat ultra-processed foods, have clean water, fresh air, so you get the picture. And we have to slow down the inflamaging or inflammatory processes as much as possible as we age. So inflammation, ladies and gentlemen, is the root cause of inflamaging. So we want to watch our diet. We talked about that. We want to avoid eating inflammatory foods. What's the highest inflammatory food? Well, it is refined sugar and refined oils, artificial ingredients, junk food, highly processed food. We want to avoid our SAD, our standard American diet, because our standard American diet has increased our obesity and metabolic diseases. We want to avoid, what did I say? Sugar, include in there fried foods. Chronic stress is inflammatory. And of course, it leads to poor sleep habits, which is inflammatory and can shorten your life. And electromagnetic fields are inflammatory. So, God forbid, when 5G is really let loose, that can penetrate our skin. Well, we know about chronic infections. We've talked about that. And if we're having a good, wholesome diet, we will get some of the vitamins and minerals that we need. But as longtime listeners, I like the parent essential oils to supply the correct amount of omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, not from pharmacological doses, but from physiological doses, and letting our bodies produce them as needed, because our bodies are infinitely smarter than the drug companies. And why do we have to do this? We want to stay younger. And another article that popped up the other day is titled "Falling Behind: The Growing Gap in Life Expectancy Between the United States and Other Countries." And this was up until 2021. We are not living longer. So the actions that we have been taking, the processed foods we have been eating, the sedentary lifestyle, the electromagnetic fields that we are exposed to every day, the toxic products we have in our everyday lives is making our lifespan shorter. Dr. Wolf, who wrote the article, said the U.S. life expectancy disadvantage began in the 50s and has steadily worsened over the last 4 decades. We don't want to be part of that. We also, beside a average of 10 grams of moringa a day, okay, we want to start supplementing with methylene blue, because methylene blue charges our mitochondria. It provides our mitochondria with the necessary ingredients to produce more ATP, which is the energy part of the mitochondria. So mitochondria have to do with our immune system and with our energy. So we want to make sure that our mitochondria are not fighting off chronic infections and inflammation, but they can direct their processes to providing us energy. So methylene blue can do that. It can enhance the function of our mitochondria, just like oxygen. It can help the glucose metabolism. It can help with our red blood cells. It can keep our mitochondria clean because of its antioxidant functions. It helps with neurotransmitter chemicals in our brain to keep us maybe from getting dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Maybe. And if you can combine it with red light therapy, the red light therapy is the booster rocket for methylene blue. So methylene blue increases cellular energy, that's ATP, directly by affecting the mitochondria. And remember, methylene blue was the first approved drug. Methylene blue. And it has a very safe profile when used at low doses. Dr. Pete, who many of you may have heard of, recommends 10 milligrams a day. Okay. Any other people recommend between 1 and 5 milligrams per kilogram. I think the lower dose is the more important one. I think 10 milligrams per day is more than adequate. And when you look at metabolic dysfunction and the bioenergetic state of our cells, our cellular mitochondria are metabolizing properly, if they are metabolizing properly, and oxygen is being used to manufacture energy, we're going to stay younger and free of dis-ease. But when our mitochondria become compromised by toxic exposures, well, then that energy production is going to slow down. And we're going to be like all of our friends. Oh, I'm always tired. I'm always fatigued. We don't want that, right? So the methylene blue that we recommend is a pharmaceutical grade that has no formaldehyde and no heavy metals. I personally would recommend no more than 0.5 milligram per kilogram. The maximum dose should be 2 milligrams per kilogram. But if you buy a 1% solution, where each drop contains 0.5 milligrams of methylene blue, 20 drops will give you 10 milligram dose. 20 drops of a 1% methylene blue solution. And you can add that to water or juice. Try it for a week and see how you tolerate it. And then if you want, you could increase it to 20 milligrams a day. That would be 20 drops, which is 10 milligrams in the morning, and 20 drops, which is 10 milligrams in water or juice in the evening. At low doses, ladies and gentlemen, methylene blue is an antioxidant in the mitochondria. It makes sure this, remember we say when you walk on the beach or you sleep on a grounding mat, you get electrons. That's what this methylene blue does to the mitochondria. It makes that flow of electrons a lot easier. So M&M, Moringa, and methylene blue. You can think of methylene blue as your battery. It charges up your cells. All right, so that's the M&M. We want to increase our health span to equal at least our lifespan. We want to die healthy at a young age. I want to recommend a documentary film called Stink. I think you can find it on YouTube. Again, it talks about the scent, the perfume that comes out of your clothing as a result of fragrances added to reduce the obnoxious scent of synthetic clothing. As I also say, the Europeans have a more precautionary guidance as far as chemicals are concerned and what they consider safe versus the U.S. Laundry detergents, fabric softeners, dryer sheets, they all have fragrance, and that fragrance gets transferred to your clothing. And if it's in the dryer, it gets vented out to your neighbors. So I do recommend that. And now we hit the 32-minute mark, so that's enough for today. I hope I wasn't too confusing, but the M&M was for Moringa and methylene blue. Two substances that will be a benefit to increasing your health span. 4 to 10 milligrams per day of Moringa and 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams per day of methylene blue. Methylene blue is a 1% solution. It's a pharmaceutical grade. Really important. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you tuning in. The show can also be found on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, right here on Podbean. If you sign up for Podbean and like Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, you will be notified of all podcasts coming up. Next week, if all works well, we're going to have a Seinfeld podcast. That means it's going to be a show about nothing. Dr. Smith and I will come on and just talk about health in general and what is happening in the health field. We'll take a little break from our anti-aging series. If you care to review, this is the 6th part. So 6 weeks of talking about anti-aging. So thank you. Have a great day.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for today. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man had to say. If it's all about good health, he's the man you got to see. He has a lot more answers for you. So tune in next week when the doctor is in the house. Or when the doctor is in the house. And let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. And let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the